Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Chase from the warehouse. I'm here with Mike Mountain, product line manager of sticks for Easton Hockey. Now, we've got these great new Velocity sticks in front of us, but you guys have been a leader in sticks for a while, and you guys have been pushing great sticks, but it seems like you guys are doing more of a technique or offering more than just a stick for these players. Maybe you want to start by expanding on that, maybe what comes along with these Velocities.
So I would say the first thing is that the last 2 years we really spent working with shooting instructors and coaches and finding out what's the right shooting technique, how are the best players getting it done, and from those insights we really said, okay, taking that back to the engineering team, how can we make a better product to work with that technique and shooting mechanic?
Gotcha. And then, so what's one of the first things we see in these new sticks? I mean, you have some new, really great dual lies, and this new toe shooting technique too, which I've found is pretty cool as well. What's going on with that?
So I would say that what we really learned in terms of shooting mechanics is we boiled it down to three things: puck position, blade angle, and energy transfer. And when we talk about puck position, we've always focused on the impact zone being sort of right in this area.
The heel.
Exactly.
Heel.
And what we're finding is that a lot of players are actually starting the shooting motion with the puck on the toe of the blade. And so, we were intrigued by this and we wanted to spend a lot of time and focus on that. And what we learned, from Scott Bukestad and others is that you can get a lot more velocity by leveraging the puck on the toe of the blade to be able to load the blade and get more velocity. And so we created the hypertoe construction, which is a series of ribs on the toe of the blade that taper as they go down towards where you're handling the puck. And it just increased the stiffness of the blade and a lot more velocity coming off the toe.
Nice. And I've heard you say it before too, it's like a diving board in a sense too. The farther out on that toe you get, the more pop you're going to get off it as well.
Exactly. Scott will tell you, when you're jumping off a diving board, where are you?
Yeah,
you're right on the edge. You're going to get more response. When you're out here, not as much. So by positioning out here, the benefit you get is you not only have the load of the shaft, but you also get the load of the blade.
You got two loading zones.
Exactly.
For more velocity.
That's
gotcha.
Right. And then in terms of blade angle, we focused a lot on pattern. We've got two new patterns that we've introduced in the last couple years, the E28 and now the E36. So both of these have a dual lie. So we have the 5 or 6 inches in the back of the blade, which is for catching passes and giving passes. And then the secondary lie, as you move towards the toe, is really shaved under a little bit so that it gets the heel off the ice.
Kind of pulls it, it kind of forces you into that position almost, right?
Exactly. So it gets the heel off the ice so that you can load the blade. When the heel's on the ice, you're not going to be able to lift the puck or get the same level of velocity. And then secondly, it really just brings the puck into the sweet spot when you're shooting.
Nice, and that just makes sure that blade gets as loaded as possible for all that velocity.
Exactly, and both those curves, the 28 and the 36, they're turned under a little bit, which actually gets your hands in the right motion. It puts your hands in front of the blade so that you're pulling the puck as opposed to pushing it from where your feet are.
Gotcha. So then continuing with that third point, which is going to be the energy transfer process, I'm assuming that's to do with the different tapers. You guys have consolidated those two great families, which is your Mako 2 and your RS2. Now we have this Velocity line. So, maybe what's the difference between the two tapers, and maybe who would choose the V9 or the V9E?
It's a great question. The V9E and the V9 have two very distinct tapers. The V9E having the elliptical profile. So with this stick, you're going to get more of a lower kick point. The elliptical profile really provides more of a responsive feel in the blade. It's going to give you a lower kick point. I recommend this for players that pull the puck in tight, have a quick release, and are really very finesse with their hands.
Gotcha.
For other players that are more aggressive through the shot, I would recommend the V9. And this has the tapered profile, so a little bit more traditional in shape. You're going to get a little bit of a higher kick point in the mid-taper area, so you'd be able to provide a little bit more power. But both of these sticks have the same construction in the toe, and so that's the key thing, which really brings the profile back to a preference that you can choose just like you would a pattern or a flex.
I think you're completely correct about the whole personal preference thing. I gotta say thank you for letting me try out these great sticks. I had a great time. I'm coming from the Mako 2, so picking up the V9 for me was seamless.
Right.
I definitely felt like there was a difference in the blade feel. I felt like it had a little more pop to it. Did you guys change it up from last year? Was there something different that you did there?
Yeah, we had a big change actually. We're using a new core in the blade. It's called RX core, and what that gives us is a lot more consistency for performance over time. You know, we really wanted to make sure that the blade stayed true to its performance and velocity over a long period of time and didn't have a lot of breakdown. And this core not only has a lower density to give you that softer feel that you're talking about, but it also really bonds well with the materials around it and gives it a real strong stability to it.
Because it felt extremely consistent. I'm assuming that's had to do with how well it bonded together, the materials in there. So are we going to see that blade on all the different price points of the sticks, or what else do we have as far as lower price point sticks in this family?
So there's 6 models in the family. We have 3 with the traditional taper, and then we have 3 with the elliptical taper. So the V9, the V7, and the V3 are all the different price points with that geometry. And then the V9E, V5E, and V1E have the elliptical profile.
Nice. And I'm guessing, too, the white ones are the Mako 2 tapers or the traditional tapers.
That's
and
right.
Then any stick, whether the price point, you got that orange on the backhand for the E's, right?
That's right.
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool, too.
So one of the things that we did with the E28 and the E36 pattern is we really designed them specifically for the age group. In other words, the senior and intermediate and junior are not all identical. The junior has a little bit more of a toe curve on the 2 of them to allow that younger player to really bring the puck in and have better control over it with it further out on the blade.
Gotcha.
And it's important that they learn the right technique and shooting mechanic at such a young age so that as they grow older, they're able to get much better.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks again for coming out. And this is Chase from the Warehouse, and you could pick up all these great Velocity sticks at inlineandicewarehouse.com.